Welcome to episode 63 of Sport SA Daily Diary. Today we turn to sportsman extraordinaire, best known for the drop goal in the '95 World Cup final, Joel Stransky.
Cool. How's it, Joel? How are you doing today?
Morning, Adam. Yeah, all good, thanks. Hey, no point complaining. It is what it is, and we just got to make the best of the situation.
Absolutely. Joel, I mean, you've had an amazing career in sport, and we'll get to all of it shortly. From rugby to mountain biking, swimming, I mean, you're a jack of all trades and a master of all as well. Joel, take us back to school days. Were you always such an active guy growing up?
So I think firstly we have to go back to this master story. I'm definitely not a master of most of them. I'm a participant. At swimming, I'm a flounderer. I'm one of those guys who slaps the water and battles and fights. So I grew up in a very sporting environment. You know, when I was a little like I had a sawn-off hockey stick and a hockey ball, and I think our whole life we grew up on the side of a sports field or on the sports field, and sport is just a great passion in our family. You know, and for me in particular, and I obviously had an early career and made a career out of rugby. And when rugby came to an end, and then you need new challenges, you need new goals, and new activities to keep you inspired and motivated. And then it became football for a while, and then it became cycling, and then with cycling it became a bit more running, and then the swimming came, and Ironman, and all these things. It's a hobby and a passion and a lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle that keeps me sane and keeps me healthy.
And certainly keeps you fit. And something I didn't know, Joel, was that you part Czech descent.
Yeah, so my grandparents on my dad's side, my grandparents on my mom's side came from the UK. My grandparents on my dad's side came from the border of sort of Austria and Czech, and so there's a bit of Czech blood there. And I think ultimately they went to university in Austria and then came to South Africa. But I think originally my grandfather was from Czech. Yeah, Stransky is quite a popular name in Czechoslovakia or in the Czech Republic now.
Oh, so now we learn something new. Joel, and you were at Maritzburg College for the 5 years at school. When did you? Not 5 years.
And I wasn't. No, so I was at Rondebosch Boys High School for grade 8, 9, and 10, standard 6, 7, and 8, and only moved to Maritzburg College for 9 and matric.
Why the move?
We lived in Cape Town, not far from Rondebosch Boys High School, and my dad decided one day he wanted to go back to his roots, which was on the farm, and he bought a farm in Moy River. And we up and left and went to Moy River, and so I had to change school. And fortunately, I got into Maritzburg College, a great rugby school, and forged my career there.
And straight into the first team when you got there?
Yeah, I did. So at Rondebosch, I'd been probably maybe even a little more focused on cricket than rugby, and I played first team cricket in standard 8, and we had a great side. We had a number of really strong players. Gary Kirsten was my age group. We both played in standard 8. In fact, I think he played first team in standard 7. It was very much a rugby school, and there was an international rugby tour happening. The team were embarking on this tour over Easter, and so from day one there was squad training, and there was loads of effort going into making sure that a strong squad went on the tour, and I went on the tour and went straight into the first team, fortunately. Yeah.
Sure, that's brilliant. And then post school, you were at the University of Natal. You carry on playing there for uni?
So post school, I did my military training first, actually in Pretoria, and spent some time in the Blue Bulls camp in the under-20s, and even as an under-20, I played a bit in the B side, and then played once in the A side when Nas got injured, and learned a lot in Pretoria. My under-20 coach was a chap by the name of Lucky Springbok. I actually bumped into, I think, his daughter the other day, and we were chatting about him. I have so much so much to be grateful for the grounding Blicky Groenewald gave me. You know, he was this incredible backline coach. I think when he was coaching us, he was about 36 or 37. And at that time, he was still playing Premiership Club Rugby at Pretoria as a centre. And I think he played Premiership Club Rugby for like 22 years, which was incredible. But a great coach, a great teacher of the game. And so in those 2 years I learned, and then obviously past the Defence Force, I came back to Natal and went to university in Maritzburg, and then I switched back down to Durban because the travelling was killing me.
And tell me, Joe, I mean, you'd spent a lot of time in Cape Town, obviously, and now Durbs. Which team did you support growing up? Was it Sharks or Province?
Which one did you want me to support, Adam?
The Lions.
So I was chatting about this yesterday. You know, when I was a real little youngster, you know, like between the ages of, I don't know, probably 10 and 13, 9 and 13, I was a season ticket holder at Newlands. And every Saturday afternoon, we'd come rain, hail, or snow, and in Cape Town it used to rain properly, you know. And my mom or my mate's mom would go and drop a few of us, the 4 or 5 of us, you know, down near Kelvin Grove. We'd walk under the railway and we'd go into Newlands. We'd sit on the benches there, and we'd watch either the day's club games. There would be 3 or 4 club games, or we'd watch Western Province, whatever it is. And when you grow up in that environment, you can't not but be a Western Province supporter. And then obviously, you know, end of standard 8, I moved to Natal and became and played Craven Week for Natal and the Sharks, and you know, then your allegiance switches. So you know, you meander through life, and your support base, your allegiances change. And I'd like to think then, post my time in South Africa, having gone to the UK and having coming back as a commentator, I'd like to think of myself as being very, very neutral. I honestly, I just want to, and when I watch the game, I want to see how beautiful game played beautifully. I want to see, you know, players reaching their potential and delivering the best they possibly can. And to me, that's probably the most important thing about the game right now.
So because you're a Varley right now, you're a very neutral Lions fan then?
So watching the Lions, the way they played for, you know, 2 or 3 years was sensational. We loved watching them. We loved the fact that they were doing well. And we love the fact that out of that camp came so many superstars, you know, and yes, we like to see them succeed. And I'd caveat that as well by saying they played a beautiful brand of rugby. Yeah. From the foundation that John Mitchell put in, to Johan Ackerman taking over, to Swayze to Brain, from where they were to where they've come from. It's been an incredible journey. It's been a pretty journey to watch as well.
Very much so. And
to be fair, and I'd say this because I know the Bulls fans think I hate the Bulls. And I'll be quite frank, the way the Bulls played the game of rugby union for some time, the game was dour. It was appalling. It was pick your biggest heavy number 12, or pick a number 12 and turn him into a heavy bosher. And they played this really average, crappy game of rugby union that wasn't pretty, and it didn't bring the best out in the players. And at that time, I was, you know, critical. I was harsh on them, and rightly so. And I think in recent, you know, in the last 2 years, they too have started playing a much more open brand of rugby, a much more encompassing game where the players can really thrive and show themselves off. So, you know, it is in the heart that I want to see the game played beautifully.
Yeah. Joel, just going back to your early career, you won the Currie Cup in 1990 with the Sharks against Northern Transvaal, the Bulls. I mean, that must have been a good moment for you in a still young, fleshling career.
Yeah, so, you know, the Sharks have a Currie Cup up until then, and Roger Gardner was CEO of Natal Rugby Union, and he set about building a team, a squad that could go on and hopefully do some good things. And he put together a great side, a great bunch of players, and ultimately we had a really strong team, and we had a great coach in Ian McIntosh. And I think what was most important is we believed. You know, we were a bunch of young guys who believed we could achieve something, and ultimately, you know, we had a great season. We went up to Loftus to play in the final. No one expected us to do well or win. And we surprised Nos and Burger Gelderhuis and the Blue Bulls mob on their own soil. It was an epic victory for us. It was wonderful.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And Joel, I mean, then came 95. Obviously, you played in Italy a bit and you played for Leicester Tigers a bit, but I want to kind of focus on the World Cup of 95. Having been on lockdown, Invictus has been on TV quite a few times over the last few weeks. I've been showing my boys, and they can now pretty much name the team from 1 to 15, with Joel obviously being their favourite. Tell us a bit about that period, Joel. I mean, that must have been a real emotional period for you guys as a young group of players.
Yes, I think it was a great period for our country, and we were just privileged to be a little part of it. And we often look at the game and the rugby, we forget about what happened behind the scenes. The work Nelson Mandela did, the way he united a nation around a white sports team. To be quite frank, Chester, and he came in, just before the quarterfinals. So it was a special period. But again, we were young rugby players. We wanted to get out there on the field. We wanted to express ourselves. We wanted to play the game to the best of our ability and go out and win every single game. We were aware of a lot of the political stuff happening behind the scenes. We had great leadership in our management team. Morné du Plessis is the manager. Edward Griffiths is the CEO of SA Rugby, who came up with the slogan "One Team, One Country." So those political and peripheral issues were really well dealt with. We learned the new anthem. We coached in the townships. We did the political things. But then from a rugby perspective, Kitch Christie and the coaching staff and the players, we just wanted to go out and win. And we trained for months to beat Australia in the opening game. We then had this great journey to the final, and we were blessed to come out on top. But what a period it was for us as individuals, for us as a collective, and most importantly for us as a nation.
Yeah. And Joel, I mean, a personal milestone in that game against Australia, you were the first Springbok ever to score a try, a conversion, penalty, and a drop goal in one game.
Yeah, so the drop goal, I think was probably the worst drop goal in the history of drop goals. I mean, I was right smack bang in front. Actually couldn't have missed it if I'd scuffed it completely, it would still have gone over. And in fact, it was James Small. He was saying to me, "There's nothing on. Kick it over." And so it was a nice easy one. But it was a great game for us. Peter Hendrick scored an unbelievable try in that game, and we were playing against the defending World Cup champions on Newlands on a beautiful. I think it was a Tuesday afternoon. I mean, it was just probably what stands out most for me about that game, Adam, was our drive to the ground. You sort of you in camp and you're a little isolated, and you know there's lots happening out there, but you're not 100% sure. The drive to the stadium, we just saw the fans of all different cultures out there with their South African flags and their Springbok flags, wearing their Springbok shirts, and that was properly inspiring. It was like one of those moments that just led us to believe that whatever Madiba had said to us in the build-up about getting the nation to support us, it was going to happen.
And then, Joel, I mean, you had a great route to the final. You played some tough games against Samoa and the likes. In build-up to that final, obviously the semi-final against France was an absolute nail-biter as well in the rain at Newlands, which we just came out on top.
Durban. It was in Durban.
Oh, Durban, sorry. Were we so scared of Jonah Lomu, or were we actually planning to just play our game?
Look, I think our journey through World Cup was not an easy one. We didn't really have any easy games, and so when we got to the final, I think we were hardened. We were also probably the fittest we'd ever been. We'd part of our core value chain had been to be the fittest team at the World Cup. So when we got there, we it would have been remiss of us not to be cognizant of the great skill set that Jono possessed. And he was huge. He was massive. He was big and strong and powerful and skillful, and he had great feet and good hands and a great step and an ability to get away from defenders easily. And I don't think you can underestimate that. We watched him almost single-handedly destroy England in that semi-final, and yes, we were a little wary of him. We started off thinking, sure, but how do we stop this bloke? He's a steam train. But we worked on it. We set out, we worked out a plan. We decided to defend a little wider and defend in, because we realized that the only way to stop someone that big is not one-on-one. You can't let anyone have a one-on-one with him. You need numbers. You got to get him in the traffic, which is all great until I realized he was coming mainly towards my channel. But we had Mark Andrews, playing at number 8. We had Joost. And we managed to nullify him, and what was I suppose a great credit to us, the South Africans, in all his test games. He never scored one try against South Africa, not in the final and not in his test career against us. So it was, I think, part of our success story in that we managed to stop him.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Joel, tell us about that drop goal. I mean, did you ever in your life think that you would be the center of one of the most sought after images in South African history, the one behind me? But discount the image, that's obviously, the story. Tell us a bit about that moment. Was it something that you guys had talked about in terms of training, in terms of, that's how we're going to play, we're going to go for the kicks and that sort of thing, or did it just happen?
No, it just happened. But Kitch Christie did come to me on Thursday afternoon, and the forwards were having an extra line-out session, and I went down to do some extra kicking with them while they were doing their line-outs. And he asked me when I'd finished kicking, because kicking is about rhythm, and so I kicked a few, and I was kicking nicely. I kicked a few more, and I was hitting them sweet, so I didn't kick too many, because you can actually kick yourself out of rhythm. And then he said to me when I was standing chatting, he said, why don't you kick more drop goals? And so he planted the seed. And so, I went back and started kicking a little bit more, kicked a few drop goals. And Friday at the captain's run, went down early before the team and kicked a bit. When we finished our captain's run, stayed on afterwards and did some more. And obviously kicked a few drop goals at Ellis Park, where it's a little bit easier because the field is so beautiful. The ball sits nicely. And I was striking them just sweetly. I mean, I couldn't have been hitting them any sweeter. So on Saturday in the game, when in the first one there was nothing on, we had a great attacking movement. It had come to a standstill. We had a slow, awkward ball, and it was just on, and it went over. And at the end, the last one, it was really looking up and saying, we had a back row move called, and looking at their defensive structure, I could see that they knew what we were going to do. They understood the move. They were going to be able to cut us off. But because they were focused on the blindside move, there was a little bit of there's a little bit of space for me to make the kick. And I called to Joost. We changed, we cancelled it, and the ball came back. And fortunately, the kick went over. But, as I said at the start of this little story, Kitch Christie came to me and said, it's the easiest form of points. Why don't you kick more drop goals? Yeah. And that planted the seed. Just by the way, that picture in your background was taken by a chap by the name of Kevin James, who was not an accredited photographer at the Rugby World Cup. He was sitting up in the stand, and he was one of the first guys to have that really wide-angle lens, and he just absolutely captured it perfectly. He never had any rights to the photo. He had to buy the rights back from the RB, and that photo became a very, very famous photo.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, I don't even know how many households this fellow must be in. Joel, I mean, post the game, after the game, there was the celebrations and everything. I remember I was in matric, and I remember the bus tour through Joburg. That was an incredible moment. I think it started in CBD and went to Sandton or something. I ran behind that bus from start to finish. How was it being on that bus? I mean, it was the first of the real bus parades in South Africa, but it must have been just the most emotional experience.
Yeah, so I think I think there was this period of euphoria, wasn't there? And it started for me personally with Madiba wearing a Springbok shirt, raising his arms and celebrating with a real joy and real love for what had happened. And that just then continued through the week, as we did that tour and we went around with the Webb Ellis Cup or trophy, and we spent time on the bus and we celebrated and we had some great parties, we had some great times, but most importantly, it was just incredible to see how a nation had united around a sports team, a rugby team in this instance. And I think, to be fair, it probably happened again in 1996 with Africa Cup of Nations, with Neil Tovey lifting the trophy and the Bafana winning the cup, and I think those 2 years were, if there were such things as diamond years, not even golden years, diamond years for our country, jubilee years, those 2 years, the 2 years for me that stand up, where we came together as a nation, we united teams, we had such great ambition and such great unity, and I mean, I think there have been forces that have, tried to divide again, and we're not quite where we were then, but those were happy years for us, and sport brought that to us, and to be on that bus and see people from all different cultures celebrating, it was just sensational.
I mean, an amazing time for this country, and I suppose it's been followed up in 2007 and 2019. But Joel, then for you,
especially 2019, Ed?
Yeah,
especially 2019. 2007 was special and it was a great Rugby World Cup victory. But 2019, I think, is the one that really compares to 1995, because Siya Kolisi as our captain was just sensational, as a leader, as a human being, as an example to all of us, as an inspirational story. He was like the Madiba of 1995, and I think that's probably why 2019 is as special as 1995.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first time that a country does something is always going to be held as probably the more special. But I think the fact that Siya was the first black captain for South Africa is equally special in that. Moving a little bit away from your rugby career, you've been on the mountain bike for a number of years. You completed, I think it's 10 Absa Cape Epics now, if I'm correct.
So I finished 9 now. I had that little tumble at the one, unfortunately.
Competed in 10. Tell us a bit about that little tumble. That was quite a shockingly bad accident.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think the thing with mountain biking, and I always laugh, and I've got friends who've fallen off a bar counter and broken their arm, and you've I don't know, been playing in the garden and, torn their knee ligaments, playing with their 3-year-old son. And the reality is every sport has its casualties. And mountain biking, has its risks associated. And I made a little mistake. I got a bit ahead of myself and ran out of skill and talent for a couple of seconds and crashed and stupidly tried to save it instead of just, accepting I was going to fall and tuck and roll. And I fell and I did a face plant. I was a little unlucky, I think. I think there's 2 ways to look at it as well. We've all fallen like that, and sometimes we get up unscathed or with a few grazes and a couple of bruises, and sometimes there's a bit more serious damage. Yeah. When we get up with a couple of grazes and a few scratches, we go, oh, that was lucky. And when we pick up a nasty injury, then we go, oh God, that was unlucky. How did that happen? And that's really what happened. I fell. I had some stitches around my eye. Needed plastic surgery to patch me back up again. I mean, I had a nice little bit of facial surgery and a facelift on the one side. I said to the surgeon, "Can you not fix the other side too?" But it was all in a day's work. What probably the hardest thing about that fall was I broke 2 ribs and punctured my lung, which meant I spent 5 or 6 days in ICU and couldn't fly home. I had to go home by train, and it was. And broken ribs are quite painful, so it took a few weeks to recover from that. But it's part of what we do, eh?
And brave man for getting back on the bike again. Joel, there's a lot of ex-rugby players that are into mountain biking these days. Why do you think that is?
So I think rugby players are highly competitive and driven and focused, and they need a goal and they need a purpose. And I know, and that's sort of my view. That's me. I love the fact that mountain biking is challenging. That I need to train hard. I need to suffer at times. It's a bit masochistic, but it's true. I know I need to suffer from time to time. It makes me feel better about myself. It's rewarding in some bizarre, crazy way. And I think the thing with mountain biking is it's not like, so road riding is wonderful, but mountain biking is a team sport. When you go race on the road, you might be racing, but you race alone. There's other guys around you, but you're a bit on your own inside a bunch. When you go on the mountain bike, you ride epic with a partner. You ride Sani to see whatever is. In fact, I'm wearing an old Sani top today. You ride with a partner, and you share this journey with your training mates. You go, on trails to places you wouldn't have seen before, and you go with this little collective group that's like a little tribe almost. And I think those two combinations, the fact that there's a bit of suffering and a bit of hard work, and the fact that there's a spirit of team, are the reason why so many rugby players take up mountain biking in particular, because they get that joy and that celebration. And after riding, we always go and drink good coffee, and I think that helps. There's that camaraderie and that team spirit.
And just talking about that pain cave and that masochistic place that you like to put yourself in, last year was a big year for you. You did the Epic, the Ironman, the 2 Oceans, the Comrades, and the Freedom Swim. Now, I think most people would say, Joel, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, I'm saying the same thing. What the hell was I thinking? So I'll tell you how that journey started. So I have a colleague in one of our businesses. In fact, he's a shareholder in one of our businesses, and he's a runner. And he said to me, I said to him, I'm going to do Epic again, and then I'm going to do Ironman. I haven't done Ironman for a few years. And so he said, that's great. I'll do some of the running with you. And then after a little bit, he said, if you're going to do all this running, if ever you're going to do Comrades, now's the time. You're going to be running strong on the back of Ironman. You're going to have, 6 or 8 weeks to just increase your distance a bit. But if you can run 42 off the bike, having cycled 180, you can do Comrades easily. He said, let's do Comrades. I'll do it with you. I said, flipping amazing. Okay, I'm in. So I said, right, what's our build up to Comrades? He said, well, you got to qualify. So we did the Cape Town Marathon. And then he said, if we're going to do this, let's do 2 Oceans, because it'll be a great training run as well. I said, okay, sounds good. And then we said, okay, let's do it all for charity, and we'll make it a big charity campaign. And then we were sitting in the office one day, and he said, there's a swim from Robben Island to Blouberg. If you can swim 4 Ks at Ironman, to swim 8 Ks will be a doddle. Yeah. It's only. I said, okay, let's do it. And why I tell you the story is because my friend then bailed on me and didn't do the swim or any of the runs. I did the whole lot by myself from that perspective. Greg and Nola and other mates of mine joined and did a whole lot of it. But what was great about it, Adam, we got great awareness for the Lumog Foundation, for the charity. We raised some good money. We built some incredible relationships. We had some wonderful sponsors come on board, the likes of ABSA, who were just amazing through that journey and still are amazing. So it was a very rewarding journey. I don't think in fact, I know I'll never do the swim again. I think I'll do Ironman again, and I will definitely do Comrades again. You and I ran Comrades. We ran of the 90 Ks, we ran probably about 80 together, which was very cool. I will do Comrades again, but it was an incredible journey. And I think in that journey, you also learn a lot about yourself as well as everything that's happening around you.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Comrades. I think it's a real place where you actually go to find yourself, but it's also one of the most amazingly supported events. There's not many events where the streets are lined from start to finish and people are shouting your name, and et cetera, et cetera. Joel, I loved running that with you. But putting you on the spot, which of those 5 was the most difficult?
The swim, Adam, by a country mile.
Mm-hmm.
So So I mean, when I'd finished the swim, I came home and I told my wife the story. Now, in retrospect, I wish she'd come with and been on the boat and seen what I went through. When I told her the story, she made me write it. She said, "That's unbelievable." She sat and she had tears in her eyes and she made me write the story down. I mean, it was unbelievably hard. When I left home on Friday morning to go to Cape Town, I packed my cupboards and made sure everything was neat and tidy in case I got chowed by a great white shark. And when I got down to Cape Town on Friday, I had a charity function in the evening, and then Saturday morning I went for a swim at Bloberg. The water was about 10 or 11 degrees. It was freezing, and I knew when I got in the water that, and I had to wear a wetsuit because the organizer said it's too cold and you're too skinny and you don't have enough, you have to wear a wetsuit. So got in with my wetsuit, and even with the wetsuit on, when I got in the water, I realized a great white shark was the least of my worries. The cold water is just completely overpowering. You know, when you first get in, you can't even put your face in. It's so cold. So on Sunday, the Sunday morning, when we went out on these little boats to Robben Island, you get close to Robben Island, and so we didn't actually do the Freedom Swim. The Freedom Swim was actually cancelled. We did a crossing because on the day of the Freedom Swim, the weather was too bad. But the boat takes you to like the edge of the outside of the harbour wall at Robben Island, and then you jump in. You swim through the kelp, and you get out on the harbour wall there on those, like, I don't even know what they call those, concrete blocks. Then you get back in and you swim back through the kelp, and then you sort of start to swim. Swimming through that kelp, if ever you think something's going to chow you, that's exactly where it's going to happen. And then you swim. And you know, the first half an hour was okay, and then it started getting cold. And you know, you feed every half an hour. You have a boat. You have one boat for two people, and you swim with your partner. Yeah. We had. I mean, if I show you the pictures, in fact, you can see on just there's one behind me where my thumb is, on the wall here. And we had pristine conditions out the water. Beautiful April day. The water was like glass. Inside the water, it was 12 degrees, and we had a head-on current the whole way. So it was a long swim. I was in the water for 3 hours 40. It was, you know, with a wetsuit, my hands were exposed to my feet and my head, obviously. Your hands go so numb, you can't catch the water anymore in the swim. And you can't pick up your bottle when they throw your bottle into the water. So you feed, you can't even get anything in your mouth. It's the hardest thing. When you get up the beach, you can't actually walk up the beach. You know, your legs almost collapse on you. They rush you inside. You're suffering from hypothermia. It was just the toughest 3 hours 40 that I've ever done. And I can say that, you know, unequivocally.
Yeah. And never again.
Never again. Once off.
Good to hear.
And that is, I'm adamant about that.
Good to hear. Make sure none of your colleagues challenge you to do anything like that again. And if they do, make sure you sign them up to a contract.
Joel, and make sure you say no up front and stick to your guns.
Just in closing, going back to rugby, you've successfully become the new voice of South African rugby. Do you still have the passion for rugby that you did when you were playing? And do you enjoy the commentating as much as you did enjoy playing?
So I still, you know, I don't really see myself as being the voice of South African rugby. I still think Hugh Bladen is
the new
voice of SA rugby. He's the new voice. Well, thank you. I still love the game. You know, I think the game is in our blood. It's in our DNA. It's part of my makeup. It's part of who I am deep down inside. And to big games, to be commentating is still a great privilege and a great honor and a great excitement, to be honest. And, I love doing it, and I wouldn't give it up for anything, and hope to carry on. I hope to be able to do it for some time still.
Well, that's good to hear, because it's always great watching a game with you on the other side. And Joel, just one last question. I mean, you've had amazing.
We got to pause.
You've had amazing achievements in your career. Is there one moment that stands out? Is it that World Cup win in 95? Is it the swim? I mean, there could be hundreds, but is there one moment that stands out for you?
Yeah. So Adam, it's a hell of an interesting question, that, and I'll tell you why it's so interesting, because life is not about achieving something and stopping. Life is about achieving something and then setting new targets and new goals, and achieving those and setting new targets and new goals and achieving those. It's a constant process. It's a constant journey. So when I look back, all those little goals that I've achieved along the way are equally sensational in my mind. From winning the Currie Cup with the Sharks, to winning the Rugby World Cup in 1995, to the birth of my children, to swimming from Robben Island, to comrades. I never thought I'd do comrades. To do comrades, to podium at the Absa Cape Epic in our age category. There's all these little things that are absolutely sensational. To winning things with the Leicester Tigers in the UK. I've got so many. I'm so blessed to have so many wonderful memories and so many wonderful achievements that to highlight one is almost not fair. But the most famous one and the most defining one is Rugby World Cup 1995. To have had such a moment in such a big game on such a great day at such a time for our country is certainly a defining moment for me.
Oh, no, I'm sure. Joel, I think you've had so many achievements. I think you actually need to put it all on paper and write a book, as your wife says, even about the swim. People would love to hear those sort of stories, so maybe a blog. But it's been awesome chatting to you today. Thank you very much for your time on Sport SA Daily Diary, and look forward to doing Comrades with you again very soon, hopefully.
Yeah, Adam. Thanks, man. Been a great pleasure chatting, and I do look forward to doing a down run this time, and finishing in Durban with the spectacular sea in the background. I do look forward to that.
Excellent. Thanks, Joel.
Catch tomorrow's episode of Sport SA Daily Diary, where South African track cyclist Claudia Ganudi tells us why she put the Olympics on hold.